Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial in which we're going to dive into MongoDB databases and how to set up or how to quickly set up a MongoDB database under MongoDB.com. MongoDB is a modern NoSQL database designed for today's fast evolving applications. Instead of storing data in rows and columns like traditional databases like SQL databases, MongoDB uses flexible document model. So flexible document model meaning that you are free to decide on the structure of your data and you are not forced to stick to one, let's say, schema like old databases or like SQL database where you have to design the table first and then you have to store your data in rows and columns. So it's built by developers for developers, that's said here, and the document data model maps to how you think and code while you are coding your application. So you're not really forced to stick to a schema or something. As you can see here in their presentation, you have a document, which is a JSON or JSON-like document, and it's called BSON for binary JSON. So we will see a side-by-side comparison of a real database and its equivalent in JSON, and you will see that both of them are similar. So I'll just hide this, and as you can see here, I have MongoDB Compass connected to a database which is called CRM Angular app, and then under that you'll have some collections which are in a traditional SQL database called tables, and these collections contains data or contains elements or contains entries, and each entry is actually a JSON document, as you can see, but it's called BSON just for binary document or binary JSON document. As you can see, this entry here is actually this entry in JSON. So when we export this, we get this. As you can see, the ID, you have the title here, and you have the summary. You can always edit the information immediately here, and then once you've done, you just click on update, or you can cancel, and you have, this is the first entry, second entry, third entry, and so on. So as you can see, it's very, very simple, and you are not forced to stick to one design or one schema. So every time you push new entry, you can always decide to just insert a document without the need to enter everything. As you can see, I can just decide to have the title here, and then I have a title, new title. So this is an official database or real database. So when I save, so my entry will be added, and I don't need it here. I don't need to stick to the same schema here. I can always put whatever I want. It's flexible and more flexible, unlike regular databases. So you can decide while you're coding or while you're entering the data to enter whatever you want. Of course, you have to do some validation from the front end to make sure that the user enters whatever you want as data. But in terms of database, you are free to decide on the schema. So in today's video, we're going to try to create a database under MongoDB.com and see how easy it is to do that and how fast it is actually to provision a database. To create a database or to provision a database, you can always install a local server and work locally like you do when you do MySQL databases, or you can work with MongoDB.com, which is a cloud provider or cloud database provider in which you can provision database and you can pay for it if it's up to 500 megabytes. You have a free quota, so it's up to 500 megabytes or 512 megabytes. It's free, and then you start paying, and you can check always their pricing model here to see what fits your application. So here you have a free 500 megabytes, or you can go up to 10 gig for $0.08 an hour, and then you can scale up. So it's up to you here to decide based on the scale or based on your scale of application. So the recommended is going to be the dedicated one, and you have serverless as well. So it's very, very powerful, let's say a cloud provider. So you can just provision database under their website, and they will provide you the connection string, and you're good to go. So first thing you need to provision a database, you have to sign in first, and then once you sign in, you will be able to start creating your database. So I'll sign in with Google this time. So since I signed in already in the past, so I have my my Google account already tagged there or saved. So I'll just go to my projects. You can always create new project. So I'll create new project here. You can always stick to the default one. So I will call it Then you can add tags if you click next, create project, so you are the owner, and then that's it. So you create the project, then under that project you'll have your database. So the first thing to do is you go to databases, and then here it will ask you to create a cluster, and under the clusters you'll have databases. So I'll create new cluster here. So you can decide on whether if it's going to be free or serverless, or let's say the recommended one. So I'll go with the free version or the free quota, and then you can name the cluster whatever you want. So for me, I'll just stick to the default. Then you can choose a provider based on your region, but based on your preferences. So you can stick to AWS or Amazon Web Service, or Google Cloud or Azure. So it's up to you to decide here, but I can stick to the default one once again. Then I can click on create a deployment to start provisioning the database. Once done, it will give you the connection to the cluster, which is your actually your database or your database cluster. So you can have multiple databases under that same cluster, and you can decide to copy these information. This is your username and password. You can customize them, and you can always create a new user if you want. So it's up to you, but you have to click on create new user, and then choose connection method. Here you can decide. So for me, I'm going to stick to Compass. You can always use other drivers like Node.js, Java, Kotlin, ASP.NET, C#, Mongoose if you want, PHP. So all languages, if you choose any language, you will be given the version that you have to install and how to install it. Then it will give you some instruction on how to actually connect to that database. It's very, very simple and smooth, so you can easily do that anytime. And yeah, so based on what you have selected already, you can decide to move on, or maybe you can install this, let's say, package, and use it in .NET. In this case, you have to install this, and then put your connection string once needed. So I'll click on done here. Of course, I can always select to, so I think, yeah, so I'll just click on done, and then it will take some time to create the cluster. Then once it's done, you can always connect to your database. So we'll wait for it until it finishes, and then we come back to see the result and see how we can connect to this MongoDB database. And as you can see, it's very, very simple and fast to create a database in the cloud using MongoDB.com. Once the database is provisioned, as you can see, you will have options to connect using different application development frameworks, or you connect by clicking on connect here, and you will have the same options. So you either use a driver like C# or any other, let's say, driver that you have, or you can decide to use Compass or PowerShell by just downloading the PowerShell. If you are using Windows or any operating system, you have to download the package specific for your operating system. Then it will show you how to actually connect to it. So for us, we are going to stick to using Compass, and Compass is very lightweight software to manage and maintain and explore databases or MongoDB databases. So all you have to do is choose this option, and then it will ask you to either you don't have it installed, or if you do have it installed, you will use your installed version, or you can download a new version by just selecting I don't have MongoDB, and it will provide you a version based on your operating system. And you can select your operating system here if it's not matching correctly. Then you download. After downloading that, you will have to use this connection string to connect to your cluster or to your databases. And this connection string is like your username and your DB password. So you need to have the password. So if you didn't copy it earlier, you have to copy it in the first screen, or you can always change your password in the data access. By clicking on data access, you'll have access to your user, and then you can click on password, then edit password, generate or auto-generate new password, then copy that auto-generated password, copy, then update your user, make sure to update, otherwise it won't work. Then take that user and dump the password here. So I'll do that. So I'll go ahead and open my Mongo Compass. I'll just search for Mongo Compass. And when you first open Mongo Compass, it will ask you to connect to a cluster or to connect to a database. So you just have to click on Add New, depending on the version that you have. Then here you have to dump the password and the connection string. I'll just dump the password that I have copied. Now I'll go ahead and get the connection string from here and dump it by changing the DB password with the password that I have already copied. I'll be able to connect to my cluster. So I'll just do that and then take this password and paste it here instead of that DB password placeholder. Then leave everything else to the default. Click on save and connect, and you will be able to connect to your cluster. As you can see, I have my cluster with 3 default collections. You can always create new collection here. I will say users. You can name your database users, DB, and then you have a collection called users. And in that collection, you can decide whether it's time series or not, and then you have some additional options if you would like to, but you can always stick to the default. Create a database, and that database will be there, and you have a collection of users. You can always import data, JSON data if you have, or insert new documents. So I'll just quickly insert a document. Name, John Doe, email, John Doe at mail.com, and then I have phone number, for example, phone, any phone number, just a random one. Then insert, and you will see that your data is entered here, and you can always check it using MongoDB Compass or the online, let's say, database explorer, which is at MongoDB or cloud.mongodb.com. So if you want to navigate to your database, you can just click on cluster, and then from the cluster you go to that cluster. Then you can browse collections. In the collection section, you have your users DB if you would, and then you have the user collection, which represent a table in regular SQL database. So you can always create new documents here by inserting a document. You can query by doing the query here if you want to search for different, let's say, documents. You can always search by name. Let's say I would like to see the name John Doe if you want. So this is how you query actually. And then you click on apply to give you the results. Since I have John Doe, if I put anything else, it won't work because you don't have results for this. If you have a John Doe with ER, you will see it. But anyways, you know, if you want to learn more about the how to query in MongoDB, you can always go to mongodb.com and then read the documentation. They have very, very detailed, let's say, documentation and tutorials. If you find this tutorial helpful, be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment if you have a question. Thank you.